What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Mograph. In Summit 32 today, I'm going to be showing you how to make this really popular flashy text intro. So I'm going to play it for you real quick and then I'll explain it and then we'll jump into today's video. And I'm not even kidding, this video could be life-changing. So as you can see, we have a little bit of movement happening. It's a really popular effect. Like I said, I've seen it all over the web, but in today's video, I'm not only going to show you the easiest way to create this effect, I'm also going to introduce you to this really awesome script called Ease and Whiz. So if you haven't heard of this before, it adds expressions to your keyframes that'll save you a lot of time. I've been using it for a while and I haven't brought it up in any of my other videos because I really wanted you guys to understand what it was doing beforehand. So you guys can hate me if you want, but I think it's good to have a basis for knowing what this is doing. So I'm going to go ahead and dock this right over here, and I'll also in this video today be using a move anchor point script, which are both of these are like staples in my day-to-day animation. So these scripts can both be found in the video description if you'd like to download them, and they are free if you'd like. I recommend you can pay as much as you want for this one. I paid like $10 because the dude did a great job. So anyway, you can find them if you put them in your script UI folder. You can find them in your Windows and just dock them wherever you want. So first, let me just do a quick example and show you why Ease and Whiz is so awesome. So let me create a new composition by doing Command N, and I'll be doing 1920 by 1080 as usual. Just create a new composition here. Actually, I'm going to do Command K, and I actually still have my frame rate set to 24 frames per second. So I'm going to set this up to 30. And that was just from a previous project. I had to match something. So anyway, I'm gonna quickly create just a square, and I'll just move my anchor point. I'll press P on my keyboard to bring up my position properties, and I'm just gonna do a short, crappy little animation just to show you an example. So now that we have an animation made, as you can see, it's very linear, it's very boring, it's very jittery, it looks horrible. So let me grab these keyframes, and in other videos, I've showed you that you can press F9 to set it to easy ease, so it eases in and eases out of each of the keyframes. And then in another video, I showed you that you can use your graph editor to actually go and change the speed of your movement. So you get a completely different animation. So what expressions do is it changes this graph for you to presets, and it uses a code to do this. So if you select your keyframes and go over to your Ease and Whiz, you can read about this, or I'll probably be using this for a lot of other videos down the road. But these are all different expressions you can add to your keyframes. So I'm just going to add like a different kind of movement, like a quad in and out, and set it to all my keyframes, and just click apply right here, and as you can see, our numbers turn red over here, and if I press E, it's going to have added this really long expression that you probably don't want to type to your keyframes. And this is just I mean, you can tweak it more with these variables here, but basically what this does is, I'm going to click my post expression graph to show you, it has changed the movement of our graph. Now this is stuff you can definitely do by yourself, but when you're doing a lot of animating, it gets annoying to go back into the graph editor every time. So I apologize I haven't brought this up before. I just wanted you guys to actually know how to use it all. So if I press 0, as you can see, our movement is different. Let me grab a different effect and select my keyframes and set it to apply. And as you can see, our expression has changed and our movement has changed if I press 0. It's basically, if I go back into my graph editor, now we have that movement we pretty much created just a second ago by hand. So these expressions are really helpful, but it still doesn't really work for everything. Sometimes you do have to go in the graph editor to get the look you want, but this works great. So anyway, let's jump into today's video and create this, if you guys have not forgotten. Oh, that's wrong. This MTV flashy text intro. So let me do Command N on my keyboard to create a, oh, actually I already have a composition. Let me do Command Y on my keyboard to bring up a new solid. And what I'm going to do is call this BG for background. And in my color, I'm just going to pick like a pinkish blue and make it really hip and modern. So now I'm going to lock that layer. And what I'm going to do is Command T on my keyboard to bring on my text options and just draw some text here. So I'm going to be doing MTV because why not? It's a popular channel and this is kind of the effect they would use. So I'm going to be using a text or a font type called Mission Gothic that's free to download. It's a really great font and I recommend using it for your projects because it looks great. And also for this effect, it's nice and easy to use blocky letters. So I recommend that as well. So now that we have our MTV layer selected, let's go and select this Move Anchor Point script and just click in the middle to recenter our anchor point and then align our layer in the middle of our composition. So now that we have that done, let's right click our MTV layer and go down to Create Shapes from Text. And then we can delete our normal text layer. So what this has done is created paths for each of our letters, as you can see, and we'll be able to use these to animate. So I'm going to press U to toggle back out of this, and basically for every letter, I'm going to want it on its own layer. So let me do Command D to duplicate this letter twice, and I'm going to call my first one M, my second one T, and my third one I'm going to call V for MTV. So now what we're going to have to do is click into our M and toggle down contents and just delete the T and V because we just want the M on that layer. Likewise, we're going to do this for our T layer. So just go into your contents and delete your M and V layer and press delete. And then for your V layer, you're going to do the same thing. So we're going to delete the T or the M and the T. So just delete those. And now we have separated layers of shapes that we did not do anything to create. So that is wonderful. Mount Mograph is all about saving time and making your work look great. So if you guys have learned something so far, leave me a like or drop me a comment, or if you like these scripts, leave a like on the video and it'll keep me putting stuff up. So anyway, let me just hide this T and V for a second, and we're just going to be animating the V or the M, whatever this letter is. So in order to make this effect, it's easiest to separate it into segments. So as you can see on this M, there are basically 4 segments to create this letter. So let's make 4 segments or 4 different layers to create this effect. So I'm going to do Command D, Command D, Command D, and now I have M1, M2, M3, and M4. So I'll hide M2 through M4 and just hold Command and click your arrow because we just want to find this path option real quick. And we're going to see our path type here, our mask path. So I'm just going to delete, use my selection marquee. So just click and drag over all those and just delete them, and then delete the sneaky point right here. And now we're going to have a line. So I'm going to now hold Command and click my arrow here and click into my second layer. So since this is the second portion of our letter, I'm going to toggle down and grab my my path here and just delete these frames right here, or whatever these are called, these mask points, mask vertices, I actually think they're called if I'm going to use real English. And just delete this as well and toggle this back down holding Command. Go into M3, and this is going to be our next segment. Hold Command and toggle down, and this effect is going to be very repetitive, but it's like a great learning process, so it shouldn't be too bad for you guys, and I hope you like it. So I'm just going to delete this here as well and delete this sneaky point, and then this top point right over here. Okay, and now we just have to do this last side. So just click your eye to see the layer and toggle down. Grab your path, and let's just drag over all of these, including that sneaky point. Oh, I missed the sneaky point. There it is. So just delete that. And now, in no time at all, we have separated our M into a whole bunch of different letters, or different shapes of our letters that we'll be able to animate. So the next step of this, at least I have found this to be the easiest way. These layers aren't perfect, as you can see. There's some lines in between them. You could spend some time just fixing that. Or if you're like me, I'm just going to grab these layers here and just put a stroke on there because I don't want to waste my time, and that would be a waste of time. So I'm going to use my eyedropper, just select the same color here, and then just turn my stroke up just a little bit, maybe to like 0.4, and this is just going to hopefully fix our problem. Maybe I have to turn it up to 1. Okay, so now it overlays that layer. That was just a quick little fix because I didn't feel like doing stuff. So now, in order to create this effect, I'm going to be using alpha mats to mask our letters nice and easy. So press Q on your keyboard to bring up your rectangle selection, and I'm just going to actually not use this stroke right now, and just draw a shape over each of your segments. And I'm going to draw one over this segment over here as well, and then I have to draw a segment and press W to bring up your rotation properties and just line this up over that portion, and then draw one more if I can find the Q button on my keyboard, and press W to bring up your rotation and just put this over your other one. So we've now created this really crappy M, which is perfect for us. So let's do Command A to select all your layers and U to minimize all your layers. And we're now going to place these layers over our M parts. So on this M, we're going to line it up with our first M right there. Our second one, we need this layer. So just drop this over your second M And on the third one, we need this layer, drop that there, and drop this there. So this probably seems like a mess, but if we grab our M, our M2, our M3, and our M4, go over into our track matte here and set it to alpha matte, our M is now visible. So that was easy. Let's go move forward in your timeline to about a second and grab your shape layers. So hold Command and click your shape layers and press P to bring up your position properties. Click your position properties and just go back in time. So now what we're going to do is move our shape layers because they're alpha matting these layers. It actually looks like one of my layers is not quite the right size, and it would be this one. So I'm just going to scale this up real quick, or attempt to. 1 second here. I need to do, there it is. That's my problem. Okay, so now it's not as cut off. So now that I have these layers with their position properties, I'm just going to go back in time, like I said, and animate these. So I'm just going to click my first one, drag it down, and click my second one, and I'll drag this up over here, just at a nice diagonal angle. And then I'll click this one and drag this up over here. And on my last one, I'll just hold shift and drag down to put it over there. So now when I press 0 on my keyboard to preview it, the M is going to wipe on, but it's very boring. So the first thing we're going to do is select all our keyframes and use our ease and whiz script and pick an easing type. I'm going to use a Quint, I think, which is like it's from fastest to slowest transitions. So I'm going to use Quint, which is going to be a little bit more interesting than normal, and press apply. So our letters are going to turn red. Our numbers are going to turn red, and just press 0, and as you can see, our motion is now a little bit more interesting. So that looks nice, but obviously when they all come on like that, it's going to be kind of boring. So what I'm going to do is just stagger these layers. So our second portion we're going to want to come on a little bit later, so I'm going to just click and drag out until they line up nice and smooth. That looks good, and then I'm going to move this one over as well, and just like this is totally what looks good to you, so you can just do whatever you'd like, but I kind of like that. I think that looks all right. I might move this back a little bit. You just want to make it look interesting. That looks fine to me. Okay, so we have our first M created. Let's grab our layers here and do Shift Command C to pre-compose this. And I'm going to call this layer M because it's an M. And now that with that done, let's press 0 to preview, and it's working great. All right, so first letter is out of the way. Let's click our little shy button here and click our shy guy up here, and this is going to hide it in our layers. Let's go into our T and duplicate this process. So I'm going to, since our T could technically have 2 layers, I'm going to actually use 3 just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to do Command D twice to duplicate my T twice, hold Command and click down in my arrow, grab my path, and let's just delete these first couple points just to get our stick. All right, so I just have cut out this down segment right here. Hold Command, click back up, click into your second segment, hold Command and click down, go into your path, and let's just delete these points. Now, since this one is up at the top, if I cut it, it's not going to look right. So what I'm going to do is just delete this point right here and delete this point right here, and I will just resize this. So I'm just going to highlight both of them with my selection marquee and just hold shift and drag it over to, like, I don't know, about here. That looks fine. And let's do the same for this other side. So hold Command and click down, click your path layer and delete these points. And let's just delete these middle points right here. Click and hold and drag these points, hold shift and just drag over to about there. And we've now created our T. So let's do the same process. Press Q on your keyboard to bring up your rectangle shape tool. And let's just draw a shape layer over that one. I'm going to do Command D on this to duplicate it because I'll be using both of those to mask our top of our T. And then I just need one more layer for the stick at the bottom. So click and drag, hold out, select your shape layers and click them, this move anchor point script to put the anchor points in the middle of our layers here. And let's just move these to the corresponding layers. So I'll move this above T3, this above T2, and this above T. All right, so select your T, T2, and T3, go into your track matte and click alpha matte. We now have it matted. So let's click our shape layer and press P on our keyboard to bring up our position properties and just set a keyframe. And then go back in time to about when the other one is like halfway drawn on, right about there. A trick about motion graphics is to always keep your stuff moving. So I'm just going to grab this first shape layer, and I'm going to actually just drag this up, hold shift and drag up because I want it to draw on from the top. That looks good. I'm going to grab my second layer. I'm going to have this wipe on from this side, and then obviously the other one would just wipe on from the other side. So that looks good to me. I'm going to select these keyframes and just go over to my Ease and Whiz script and keep it on the same settings and just click apply. And now do 0 on my keyboard to preview. And as you can see, our T wipes on nice and smooth, but I'd like to make this motion a little bit more interesting. So obviously I will just maybe stagger this a little bit, just drag this out and drag this one over just a touch. And we now have a T that draws on nice and smooth as well. So grab your T layers, do Shift Command C to pre-comp them and put them into a new composition or new pre-comp called T, and just press enter. Click your shy guy, and it's going to disappear from our layer manager just for a second. And now let's animate our V, which is going to be our last letter. As you can see, this process is very repetitive and very easy. So one of the other things I should do is, since our V segment has two little lines, it's kind of boring, and I wanted to make it a little bit interesting now that we're at the end of our little letter. So I'm going to do something a little different. First, I'm going to do Command D to duplicate our V. And let's just first do the first couple of steps we've been doing, and just delete this point right here. That's our first side, and then I'll grab my second side, click my path, and just delete these points. There we go. Nice. So we have our V's separated. So let's grab both of our V's and go into our move anchor point script, or just grab one of your V's, and we want the anchor point to be in this bottom corner here. So I'm going to click into the bottom corner, and our anchor point has jumped over there. And then on this one, I want the anchor point to be in this corner. So I'm going to click over there. All right, so now that that is drawn, what we're going to do is hold Command and click into our first V, go into your path, and we're going to actually oversize the V, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this and drag this up a little bit too much, and then come down here and drag this out a little bit too much as well. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and you'll see why in just a second. Well, not just a second, like another minute, you'll probably see why. And then I'll do the same for this other one. So I'll just drag this out a little bit. I'm not going to worry about keeping the letters perfect. We'll be animating a little bit more onto this to make it more interesting. Okay, so I have my V's all set up. And now as my T is about drawn on, I'm going to start adding my animation. So select both your layers and press R on your keyboard to bring up your rotation properties and set a keyframe, and just go backwards until your T is like, halfway drawn on like we said. And I'm just going to rotate these a little bit until it looks like they're both in the middle. So that looks all right to me. And we now have a stick, and this obviously doesn't look right, but I'm going to select both of these keyframes and go to my easing type and set this to Expo, which is going to be a nice fast one, and press apply, and let's see what's happening. So we have a nice movement there. That looks pretty good. I'm now going to want to make this even more interesting. So I'll maybe move this these two keyframes just forward a little bit, and put these into a new pre-comp. So select both your layers and do Shift Command C on your keyboard, and let's call this V Start. So now what we're going to do on our V Start is do Q on your keyboard to bring up your shape layer, and let's just draw over this shape. Perfect. And then move your anchor point to the middle of this object. On your V Start, let's add an alpha matte. So just click alpha matte, and our crappy shape is going to be visible. Let's go forward until the V is just about to split, so right there. And what we're going to do is actually scale up this layer. Let me make this visible. We actually need it to be wider, so just unclick your constrained proportions and just make this wider if you didn't, something like that. And now hide the layer, and what we're going to do is press P on our keyboard to bring up our position properties, set a keyframe, go back in time to the V being like halfway drawn on, and just pull this shape down. So, and then we'll grab these two keyframes here, go into our easing type, and let's set this back to our quint and click apply, and let's see what's happening. Okay, so we now have a V that pops up and splits, and that looks pretty good. But obviously we have some funny shapes going on, so let's grab our V start in our shape layer and do Shift Command C. So we're doing pre-comps and pre-comps, and I'm gonna call this V second. Okay, so now that we have our V second made, let's grab a rectangle tool, and you can zoom in for this if you'd like, and I'm just going to draw the rectangle something like this, you know, like try to line it up with the top of the T, and then we're going to go down, and with the shape layer still selected, make sure you click your rectangle tool, and I'm just going to line this one up with the bottom. And so what this is going to do is put both those shapes in one object together. And so then I'm just going to grab my V second and actually set my track matte to alpha inverted, and so that's going to cut those. So now if I do 0 on my keyboard, it's going to look like our V is perfect. And there's like, I mean, you know, it's not perfect. There's some little lines I shouldn't have set perfect, but it looks pretty good. So we're starting to get some interesting movement, but I think we can still kick it up a notch. So let's grab our V second in our shape layer, do Shift Command C, and let's just call this V. So now that we've done that a million times and you guys hate me, let me toggle my shy guy and we'll be able to see all of our layers. So let's make this even more interesting because I still feel like we're not quite there. So let's go into our effects and presets and select a drop shadow, type that into the box, and just drop a drop shadow onto M. And what we're going to do is maybe position this a little bit more interesting. So maybe so it's coming up over this way, and just maybe turn my distance to 9, and I'm going to turn my my opacity down to like 27, and that looks pretty good. Next I'm going to go and grab a fill. So I'm going to type in fill, and I'm going to drag this onto my layer. Let's grab an interesting color, so one that contrasts all right. I'm going to, I guess, grab like this kind of orangey yellow, if I can find one that I like. You can definitely use a color scheme. I'm just doing this by eye, so here's a yellow. I guess I'll use this. And let me minimize both of these, and just grab my fill and my drop shadow, Command C to copy it, put it onto my T, and put it onto my V. Great. So now what we're going to do is, it's going to get annoying in a second, guys, so get ready. So let's duplicate our M once, and what we're going to do is click a different color. So I'm going to grab a little bit, probably orange color, I guess. That looks good. And then I'm going to duplicate my T, go back into my my fill color here, and click my eyedropper and just grab the same orange, so that color will change. I'm going to grab my V here and do Command D. You guys probably hate me at this point, and just use my eyedropper and grab that color. Okay, so let's do this one more time. So grab your second M and just delete this, so we have another layer on top. I'm going to use my fill color here, and to just get a even different color, something that contrasts well. Once again, if you can find something you like, I might do something horrible like this red color. And now duplicate your second T. So we have 3 copies of each of the layers. Use your eyedropper tool to duplicate this, Command D, and just get a second one. Okay, so now that we have this set up, if we play it, it looks like we just have one layer going on, and you know, that's no good. So what we're going to do is grab our M2, our T2, our V2, hold Alt, and just click the page down button like 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And now let's grab our M3, our T3, and our V3, and do Alt Shift page down to move it forward 5 frames, and then hold Alt and do page down like 3 or 4 times. So now when I play it, it's going to stagger all those layers, and it looks like we've made a really, really complex animation, which I guess we kind of have, but I think it's a cool effect. So right now I'm pretty happy with it, and we're going to just add one more thing to really take it to the next level. So let's grab our M, all of our M's here, do Shift Command C, and just call this M main, and then grab all your T's and do Shift Command C and call this T main, or Mayon in my case, and grab all your V's, do Shift Command C, and call this V main. Okay, so now what we do is, as this animates on, that looks all right. And as soon as it's all animated on, let's grab all of our layers and press P to bring up our position properties. Click your position properties, go back a little bit in time, and set another keyframe and then go, so set a keyframe right when it's still animating on, and then go forward a little bit in time. And what we're gonna do is just move this a little bit. So maybe up a little bit and over a little bit. So that looks good. Let's select these layers here, or these keyframes, and go into our Ease and Wiz, and let's set it to an expo. And click apply. So now those are added to our layers, and so now they're gonna move. So let's just stagger this a little bit. So we want our T to move a little bit later. So hold Alt and click over on your right arrow twice or 3 times, and then do that the same on this one, just staggered a little bit. So now when I play this, the letters are going to kind of move at different paces. So it has a nice effect there, a little ripple. What we're going to do now is grab all of these layers and do Command D on your keyboard and just put these at the top for a second. Press U on your keyboard to bring up your keyframes and go back in time. And let's just delete these keys right here and do delete. And then grab these duplicates and do Shift Command C, and I'm going to call this shadow. And drag your shadow layer underneath your other layers. And what we're going to do is just drop a fill onto it right here, and then make our color a white. So let's see what happens now. So now when I play my animation, as they move, we get a nice reveal, like a little extra shadow, like when they left the spot, they took the color. So that was the animation for today. I hope you guys had fun, and I really hope you learned something. If you've learned anything or found the scripts useful, please leave me a comment, like this video, keep the channel going. Yeah, and I mean, I'm doing this so you guys have fun, you guys learn stuff. I really like hearing feedback, good or bad. So yeah, this was Matt from Mograph, and get your learn on, guys. Peace out.